Hey, Bruin fans, want to go behind the scenes with your favorite teams and athletes? How about getting exclusive merch and opportunities to enter sweepstakes like sideline access at the Rose Bowl? Introducing Blue and Gold Society, UCLA Athletics fan membership program created to support Bruin student athletes. Members receive benefits like exclusive gear, videos featuring insider stories, and incredible experiences courtesy of UCLA Athletics. Sign up today at blueandgoldsociety.com.
Good afternoon. Getting right down to business here. A big day. We're doing it live, doing more at 4 weekday afternoons, right after Guy Benson at 3, and just before the 790 KBC News Blitz with Randy Wang at 5. Mottek On Money, live on the air, 790 KBC, streaming live online worldwide at kbc.com, and you're on demand, Mottek On Money podcast, kbc.com, Apple, iTunes, YouTube, all your favorite podcast platforms. I'll also be back on the air live at 6 tonight with top-ranked money manager Ken Winans on Winning with Winans. Well, stocks rebounded today from Friday's sell-off. President Trump in the spotlight today for a variety of reasons, announcing trade relations with China will all be fine. That's the thing that spooked the markets on Friday. Stocks rebounded sharply today, and a big rebound after President Trump played down the escalating U.S. trade standoff with China and said it will all be fine. Of course, President Trump had a big day today, traveling from Israel to Egypt. The president declared the war in Gaza over as he celebrated the return of 20 remaining living Israeli hostages from captivity in Gaza as part of his U.S.-backed ceasefire plan. After many months of negotiations, the president addressed the Israeli Knesset, the Israeli parliament, where he praised the ceasefire deal that he brokered. Coming up later this hour, I'll be getting Jewish community reaction to today's epic news from prominent Los Angeles area Rabbi MENTZ at Chabad of Bel Air. The Dow came in for a closing gain today of nearly 600 points to 46,068. The S&P 500 up 102 at 6,655. The NASDAQ up nearly 500 at the bell at 22,695. The yield on the 10-year note is back down to 4.04%. Stocks recovering most of Friday's big losses after the president dialed back his threats to impose an additional 100% tariff on Chinese products starting November 1st. And that ignited the big sell-off on Friday. The president's comments aimed to calm the markets, it seemed, also keeping up pressure on China to unwind its recent tightening of trade curves by stressing the potential for economic damage. A lot of that attention was focused on rare earth metals. Also, we're still in the government shutdown, going into its second full week. Consumer inflation numbers coming out on Wednesday. It looks like that has had its release pushed back to October 24th now. Other scheduled reports ranging from retail sales to wholesale inflation also likely to be delayed now, leaving the market and the Fed pretty much flying blind at this point on the latest economic news. Also, the earnings season kicks off with results from the biggest names on Wall Street as far as banks are concerned. J.P. Morgan Chase, Goldman Sachs, the big dog on Wall Street, Wells Fargo, and Citigroup all set to report earnings tomorrow. Markets also focus, of course, in the world of AI and tech optimism from big tech giants Broadcom and OpenAI announcing a new partnership today, pushing Broadcom shares up just about 10%. Silver, the highest we've seen since you were getting down to Kool and the Gang, celebrate, good times, come on. Yep, 1980. That's how long that song has been around, and that's the last time we saw silver around this price. In fact, cleared $50 an ounce today for the first time in 45 years. The previous record was $48.70. It went above $50 an ounce today. Silver is up about 73% so far this year. We'll get the latest on silver's move to new highs and gold's record run-up. Barry Stuppler will be with us live later this hour. The founder of Stuppler and Company in Woodland Hills, also Mint State Gold at mintstategold.com, and former president of the American Numismatic Association. Here's something we haven't talked about in a while. Cobalt prices surging to a 2-year high. We'll talk more about that as well. And, of course, the rare earth producers, MP Materials, USA Rare Earth, and Ramaco Resources saw their stocks extend gains today amid a recent upswing as China has expanded restrictions on exports of those critical metals. Joining us now, cover all the bases here on this epic day on your money, the markets, the economy, and the whole works. Joining us live, Ken Winans. Top-ranked money manager Ken Winans, President and Chief Investment Officer at Winans Investments at winansinvestments.com. Ken Winans, also a market historian, author of numerous books, also Forbes magazine contributor. He also has his crypto credentials. And speaking of that, we saw cryptos rebound today. Most importantly, he's host of Winning with Winans, heard every evening every Monday night at 6 p.m. right here on your favorite station, 790 KBC. Ken Winans, thank you very much for taking the call here this afternoon.
Well, hello, Frank Mottek. And hey, of all the things you just talked about, you forgot the most important thing that our competing financial shows are talking about, the return of the taco trade. And so lo and behold, we do have a redo of that. But it is interesting that we have tacos, we have earnings, and although October typically ends to be a good month, it is by far the most volatile month when you look about a beginning point to a low point within a month. And I take my studies back to 1970. So, we're obviously having October start out the way we would expect it. But, Frank, it's interesting. I think we're learning, and I think to some degree we learned it in COVID, but we're having to remind ourselves this, that the idea of complete data dependency coming from whether it's a government agency or even if it's industry groups, at the end of the day, it's going to come down to the earnings that I think are going to make or break this quarter. And as you said, we have J.P. Morgan and many of the other big banks reporting tomorrow. But literally, I think the reaction is not even so much the valuation of the stocks, but it's going to be the way that the numbers and how management's portraying the remainder of this year and certainly going into Q1 next year is going to be critical for the state of this rally going forward.
They're live with top-ranked money manager Ken Winans. I did see the reports, the comments that the so-called taco trade has reheated. I happen to have had tacos for lunch today, so maybe that's why I didn't mention it earlier. Still recovering from that lunch I had today. But what about that aspect here? We've been hearing that term used this year. But certainly, let's look at this impressive rebound we've had here, first of all.
Well, we talk about, how the markets are data dependent. I think the markets are right now headline dependent, and they seem to vacillate back and forth all over the place. It was interesting there. I mean, obviously, like you, I look at reports all over the weekend, and I particularly like to look and see the amount of participation happening in the commodity markets. And, when we talk about, is the gold and silver trade getting crowded? All I can tell you is that the record number of commodity contracts on the Chicago Mercantile Exchange, I mean, what we call open interest, the number of contracts open is at a record level. So it's not just the price, but there's tremendous demand and certainly people willing to take the risk, even with increased margin rates, they're willing to go out and do these things. So I just see some real power that's going into all this. But Frank, I will bring up that I think the other thing we always have to do is just to go back and look at what actually moved the best today. And this is the calm before the earnings coming out. Well, you know what? You would say, okay, great. Financials, they all had a good day. But what's really catching my eye, I'm still seeing retail and restaurants having a good day. My index, they were up about 2.5%. Obviously, tech had a very good day today. But even within old tech, the old electronic companies, they did very well. But again, I go back and look and see that there's just anything that's in the natural resource and the commodity space, again, whether it's commodities themselves or futures trading or it's stocks in those areas. Energy was up over 2% today, and commodities were up well over 3% as a group. I think you're going to see that theme play through the remainder of this year. Trend is your friend. And again, people need to look at these groups if they're underexposed.
All right, silver getting attention today, hitting an all-time high, blowing past the previous record set back in 1980. So that is certainly big news here. What about silver?
Well, in 1980, I was a young buck being a junior analyst, so I remember that run very, very well. I'll say what this, Frank. Who would have ever guessed at the very beginning of this year that silver would be basically, as of right now, 27% higher than gold. And I think it's about, let me look here real quick, 60% higher than Bitcoin. I don't think anybody would have taken those odds. So again, you're looking at this just fantastic move. Now, so it does beg the question. I know it is tempting to want to rush out and sell silver, thinking it's an almighty top. I mean, I'm a technician. I spend an awful lot of time during the day and the weeks looking at the underlying currents. I can just tell you there's more buyers than sellers. And as long as that continues, you're going to see these metals keep moving up. There's one other quick thing while we're on silver is the why. And there's a big difference with gold and silver in that silver is actually more of an industrial metal than even gold is. And certainly we're looking at copper. I have to throw the honorable mention to copper. Copper's actually up 26% on the year. But again, we keep talking about these new computer chips. We keep talking about the need for metals across the industrial base, especially with this so-called reindustrialization of America. There's legitimate demand, Frank. It's not just people stockpiling silver. These are companies buying silver to make stuff. And as long as that continues, it should, I think the run could keep going.
On there live with top-ranked money manager Ken WINANS, also host of Winning with WINANS at 6 p.m. on Monday evenings here on 790 KABC. And Ken WINANS, given what's happened today, as a lot of things have happened today with this China story, the rare earth metals, that was what rocked the markets on Friday. What about those names that have rallied all of a sudden?
Yeah, the same thing. It's actually interesting now that I live in Las Vegas, and certainly with Nevada being such a key mining state. You're hearing more and more about a lot of our miners who are just dancing a very happy little tune as China continues to force domestic mining. And I think, again, maybe the headlines in California don't find it as much, but you find the headlines in here and Arizona and Utah, all the way up through Idaho and Montana. It is dig, baby, dig. And you're going to continue to hear those stories going on, and certainly with the government's push, more so into the industrialization. Unfortunately, I think, again, it's hard to say who wins in these trade disputes. I think, many of us thought, well, maybe this thing's calming down. I don't think it is. Until you actually have finalized agreements, I don't think you're going to have it. But I will also say this very quickly. There's a tendency that we typically look at China, but we don't spend nearly enough time looking at Central and South America. And there is a lot of rare earths in this hemisphere, not to mention also in Canada. So again, it's not as if China might be the most active in mining, but the potential for mining is in a lot of other places.
Speaking of mining, what about oil here? You noted that oil still hovering below 60 a barrel here. It took that big plunge on Friday as tensions in the Middle East have dramatically eased all of a sudden with this Gaza-Israel peace deal. What about oil at this point?
Here's the thing. I think you can look at energy stocks themselves, but here's the deal. Wait till the earnings come out. Just do yourself a favor. If you are, itching to put some money to work, and I know a lot of people are now because they really have to. Money market rates have come down so far. You and I have been talking about this for darn near 2 months. Folks, don't get too comfortable in those high-paying money market accounts. But I think, again, in the case of the energy sectors, you're going to have to pay attention. Who's domestic? Who's international? Where are they in the complex, so to speak, the energy complex? Are they drillers? Are they pipelines? There's a lot of other things that go there. So again, I just caution everybody. It's a good time to put your list together. But again, I'm still looking at an awful lot of energy plays have not had a good month, and they barely burped today. So just be careful.
On there live with top-ranked money manager Ken WINANS. At this point, Ken WINANS, any specific places where you are putting money now and or taking it off the table?
Well, here's the problem I think everybody's going to have. I'm still going with trend is your friend. And what I mean by that is, I know there's some people out there saying, gosh, I'm looking for cheap stocks. The problem with cheap stocks is they keep getting cheaper because they keep missing their numbers. I think, and you have to forget about industry ETFs, and you got to look at stock plays. And I think again, I keep finding people are underexposed in financials. I think you're going to find the financials are going to be in a very good place. And some of the names that I think you should some of the big guys like JP Morgan, symbol JPM, I think their number is going to be fantastic. Also, Goldman Sachs. Goldman Sachs is now moving their headquarters to Dallas. They're trying to reposition their company in a lot of different places. Stock has been on a tear. I have no problem, even though it's had a really good run this year. Again, I think the numbers are going to be absolutely stellar. final case, Frank, I still think this retail season is going to surprise everybody. If you are underexposed in retail, I would just tell you, take a look at TJX, and I would still take a good hard look at those automotive retailers, O'Reilly and AutoZone. I think they're all going to have a good Christmas.
Very interesting. It is to be noted, we saw the bank stocks rally ahead of some of that earnings news. J.P. Morgan Chase up more than 7 today to 307 and change. Goldman Sachs up more than 22 today to 786 and change. Before I let you off the hook here, if you can put your crypto hat on for just a moment. You have your crypto credentials, too. We saw that sell-off on Friday along with the rest of the market, and then the cryptos rebounded over the weekend. Bitcoin now back to around 116 here or so. Ethereum cracked below 4,000 on Friday. Now it's back around 4,300, and the list goes on. Looks like we've seen a pretty decent rebound following that washout on Friday. What about the cryptos here?
You know, I think if you're going to be looking at metals in your portfolio, I think you've got to look at the digital gold too. And I would just tell everybody, look, don't get in trying to figure out wallets and everything else. Go look at the IBIT ETF. It's about 3% off of its 50-day moving average, 8% off of its 100. It's certainly not overextended. It's up 24% on the year. I think you have to buy the dip. Again, as long as the NASDAQ continues to power ahead, I think Bitcoin's going to follow in its very interesting relationship it has with the NASDAQ. I think it's going to continue going forward.
All right, here's one I haven't asked you about in a while. What about that BITO, another ETF, which throws off a monthly dividend?
You know, you're right. You know, Frank, you've been an unsung hero of that for a very, very long time. Again, as long as you dig into where in the heck it keeps paying that nice high dividend, but I think you can certainly look at anything in the crypto space. I would say this. I mean, and I'm a conventional money manager. My company's been around for over 30 years. This is the first time, and this is after I had to educate my clients on this. This is the first time that I've had that IBIT ETF as a holding in all of my portfolios. It's the first time. So, and I'm a certified crypto trader. Although I trade, I'm looking at this as a mainstay in my portfolios. So, I mean, I'm a believer. I think you can no longer dismiss the impact of crypto in our society, and it's only going to get bigger in 2026.
All right, terrific, Ken. Well, thank you very much for taking the call here this afternoon, and we will continue the conversation at 6 o'clock this evening on your favorite station, 790 KBC, on Winning with WINANS here at 6 o'clock every Monday evening. Ken, thank you very much for taking the call here this afternoon, and look forward to speaking with you at 6 this evening.
Yep, more to talk about tonight, my friend. I'll see you soon.
Righto. Thank you very much. And out to the freeways now, 790 KBC. Mottek On Money continues, 790 KBC. Liftoff instead of let down on Wall Street today. And speaking of liftoff, just about 4 or 5 minutes ago, Starship's 11th flight test lifted off, and so far so good in the first minutes of that flight out of Texas and the Starship base there. Elon Musk cheering on the latest launch of the Starship. That's the big rocket that goes out of Texas. Tesla shares also moving higher today. Let's bring that one up at more than $22 today at $435 and change. The overall stock market lifting off as well on easing concerns about U.S.-China trade relations, which spooked the markets on Friday and sparked that big sell-off on Friday. Today we saw the market recover most of those losses, with the Dow today up nearly 600 points at the bell, up 588 at 46,068. The S&P 500 up 102 at 6,655, and the NASDAQ gained 490 at 22,695. The yield in the 10-year note is back down to 4.04%. Silver hitting an all-time high today, above $50 an ounce. We'll talk about that. We'll talk about that with Barry Stuppler coming up in the next half hour. Gold is still hovering above 4,000, in fact, above 4,100 here at the moment at 4,127. The volatility index, which had that big spike on Friday, pulling back 12% today. Oil hovering just below $60 a barrel as Middle East tensions have eased following the peace deal reached between Israel and Hamas, celebrated by President Trump at the Israeli Knesset today, and then on to a signing ceremony in Egypt. Taking a look at NVIDIA shares, moving higher today by more than $5, rebounding from Friday's sell-off back to 188 and change. Apple up more than 2 at 247 and change. IBIT, the ETF, down 39 cents at 65.81. Oracle shares got a pop today at more than $15 at 308 and change. Bitmine Immersion up more than 4 at 56.85. Aitco Holdings, Orbs, up 24 cents at 10.08. Bitcoin at the moment hovering at 115,685, Ethereum at 4,267, Solana at 208, and Doge at 21 cents. And now the latest news on 790 KBC.
Bruin fans, fall is finally here. That means UCLA football is back in your life. Head out to the Rose Bowl to enjoy America's best tailgating and to make more unforgettable memories with the Bruins. Nico Iamaleava and the Bruins are ready to make an impact this year, and we need you cheering them at the Rose Bowl. Visit UCLABruins.com or call 310-UCLA-WIN to lock in your tickets today. 310-UCLA-WIN.
The United States Soccer Federation presents the U.S. Soccer Podcast.
Searching for an inside look at the people, stories, and passion that fuel the state of soccer in America?
Who's going to be the key man for the U.S. men's national team?
First and foremost, they need to win.
There's something so fun about being the underdog.
You're playing with house money almost.
But what does this success mean for the future of U.S. soccer?
Ooh, you're getting deep now.
This is where soccer will come to life.
The U.S. Soccer Podcast. Follow and listen on your favorite platform.
Mottek On Money continues here, 790 KBC. An outpouring of emotion and relief in the Middle East today. President Trump declaring the war in Gaza over as he celebrated the return of 20 remaining living Israeli hostages from captivity in Gaza as part of his U.S.-backed ceasefire plan after months of negotiations. President Trump delivered an hour-long speech to the Israeli parliament. The president said the completion of phase one of his 20-point peace proposal paves the way now for permanent peace in Israel and Gaza. All 20 remaining living hostages returned to Israel after over 2 years in Hamas captivity following the Hamas terror attack on Israel on October 7, 2023. Many emotional videos today showing returned hostages reuniting with their families. Joining us live now, prominent Los Angeles area Rabbi Chaim MENTZ at Chabad of Bel Air. Rabbi, thank you very much for taking the call on this historic day, and give us your reaction to today's epic news.
It's phenomenal news. It is so good to be able to see mothers, fathers, brothers, sisters, children hugging their loved ones as they come back from the horrors of the tunnels that they were in such inhumane life. And they were there for 2 years. Never did the Red Cross visit them. And now all of a sudden, they're able to see sunlight. Now they're able to get real food, drink clean water. This is a happy day. It's a glorious day. Not just for the Jewish people, for humanity who loves that human beings should be treated well.
Tell us about your congregation and the reaction to today's news, and the conversations must be very joyful today.
Well, it's a two-edged sword, but first we'll talk about the joyfulness. The joyfulness in the congregation is they're saying, we got to party. Literally, we are celebrating with a big dance tomorrow night to make sure that everybody celebrates the 2-year anniversary. People look at October 7th as the day, because that's the secular calendar, but the Jewish calendar is the holiday called Simchas Torah. So they're coming back right at the end of 2 years, marching right into the day of their tragedy, which we're going to be turning into dancing for them and dancing with them, even though they're far away. So on one hand, it is the greatest feeling, even though I don't know who these people are. I never met these people before. But the sheer fact that they're obviously Jewish, but they're also human beings that were being treated under the worst conditions, this is a time for all humanity to get up there and sing and dance and be happy.
What's your reaction to President Trump addressing the Israeli parliament today?
He was real comfortable. I mean, he really slapped around at certain countries. He said, you got to do what you got to do. Come on, we can make the peace. But then when he got real comfortable and started talking to the opposition party, telling the president of Israel, come on, pardon the guy. It's only champagne. And let me tell you something. He is a showman. He's great. But the thing is, people are taking him serious. He's not a politician. He's a businessman. A shake of a hand, his word is his word. And that is why he's getting results. He doesn't care about politics. He wants results. And he's using the entire power of his administration and the entire United States behind him. to go and show everybody you can be economically strong, you can do so many things better. And he's doing great results. I must say, my biggest thrill is I don't have to see any people starving. I don't have to see people dying. Every human being in this world is created in the image of God. Sometimes when it comes to war, people die, and they don't fulfill the mission that they were created for. The greatest joy, again, all humanity to be able to think about it and say is they can all fulfill their purpose right now. Get out there. Do the best that you can. Get an education. Go get a job. Be productive. And do whatever it takes to make your part of the world a better place.
On there live with Rabbi Chaim Mentz at Abad of Bel Air. And today's epic news, of course, preceded other epic events this year, including Israel and the U.S. wiping out Iran's nuclear program. Rabbi, you probably remember the Wall Street Journal the day after October 7th, 2023, when the Wall Street Journal laid out Iran's hand and all of that, support for Hamas and so forth. And now Iran has been brought to its knees militarily. What about that aspect of it? And it looks like if Iran does renew its nuclear program, the U.S. and Israel will be prepared to act again.
100%. We as the Jewish people, in our 4,000 year history, but for the last 2,000 years, so many countries tried destroying us. Many times they tried killing us, et cetera, et cetera. We continue on, and they're in the dustbin of history. Iran is trying to do what they believe in, kill every Jew in the world. And I got to tell you something. We have a friend in the White House that goes and says, Israel, we need you. We need your productivity, what you bring to the world. We will side with you. You are a democracy. And Iran is not just against Israel. They're against the entire West. Look what their proxies are doing now in the streets of France, in London, in New York. They want to conquer and take over our countries, our way of life. This is the Ottoman Empire coming back against the West. That is Iran. But Ottoman Empire fell. Those radical Islamic people fell. The Crusades fell. And if Iran has to fall, they too will fall. The Jewish people will live. That is our history. Iran has their choice. Join us and be blessed, or find your fate, just like all the others in the 3,000 history of people trying to destroy the Jewish people.
Probably have seen the reports of repression once again in Iran, cracking down on dissent there with the executions on the rise and so forth. What do you think is going to happen with Iran?
The people in Iran are willing to stand up. The problem is there's big guns all over the place to shoot them down before they can go. But Iran has to be brought to its knees. You must understand, God created people to be free, to be productive. Being under domination is like Pharaoh enslaving the Jewish people. It's the perfect parable. These countries are literally bringing their children and their citizens into slavery, and this is not good, not for them, and it's not good for the world. But what's beautiful is the rest of the world is watching this, and they're saying, we don't like this anymore. We're not giving it. There are countries that are willing to go and be part of embargoes against Iran, bring them to their knees. We have nothing against, nobody has anything against the Iranian people. It's the philosophy. Remember, the kamikazes from Hiroshima, from Japan, they had a philosophy. The Nazis had a philosophy. The people that carry out these philosophies have to either be re-educated or they have to be eliminated. They're cancers. And the people of Iran will sprout when sooner or later these people that are in power will literally either be destroyed, like Donald Trump, our president, has said he would do again, or they themselves will start recognizing it's better to join the Abraham Accords or be part of the normal West instead of saying, we have to kill you. There's no reason to kill anybody. There's no reason to dominate us. If people want to join your religion, just educate them. They'll join your religion. You don't have to go and force anything upon anybody. And here's the biggest thing. We are all the children of Abraham, the Jews and all the Muslims, all the Islamic religions. We're the children of Abraham. Think about it. Abraham had an open tent, and he brought everybody in and said, what is your religion? Let's talk. Let's discuss. and he made hundreds of thousands of followers in monotheism. Where is the open tent? If there's only going to be, it's my way, the highway, or else I'll dominate you. And unfortunately, through history, there were many countries that were slaughtered by different armies from different religions because they weren't open to be the way of their father Abraham. These are my cousins. They're my relatives. We come from the same father. Why can't we sit and talk in education? Why not? And this is the problem where we are today. There are radicals that say, we don't need to talk. We're going to go and make you submit. I don't know anybody that loves a religion that they're submitted to versus I found a love in a relationship with God. And that is what's going on in the world today. And God willing, that people will have their minds open and be able to go and say, we don't have to fight anymore. Let's have open discussion. Let's be like Abraham, the true children of Abraham.
Rabbi, thank you very much for coming to the line on this unforgettable, historic, epic day here. Rabbi Chaim Mentz at Chabad of Bel Air, thank you very much for joining us live here this afternoon.
Thank you, Frank. Have a good day.
Thank you very, very much. Out to the freeways we go now on 790 KBC.
Hey, Bruin fans, want to go behind the scenes with your favorite teams and athletes? How about getting exclusive merch and opportunities to enter sweepstakes like sideline access at the Rose Bowl? Introducing Blue and Gold Society, UCLA Athletics fan membership program created to support Bruin student athletes. Members receive benefits like exclusive gear, videos featuring insider stories, and incredible experiences courtesy of UCLA Athletics. Sign up today at blueandgoldsociety.com.
We are the musers on the pod so far. We've discussed people we love.
I didn't tell you guys. Cuban emailed.
What are you wearing?
Well, no, that's not.
Things we love.
Got way into typewriters.
How many typewriters do you own?
Let's not podcast anymore.
Just guesstimate.
It's time to get really down and dirty.
These are great ideas. Start a podcast and then forget to promote it on social media.
So,
what is our podcast about? Gosh. Yeah, whatever we feel like.
The Musers, the podcast. Follow and listen on your favorite platform.
Mottek On Money continues here, 790 KABC. All that glitters is not gold. It's silver. That's right, silver popped to a new all-time high today, above $50 an ounce. In fact, silver has outperformed gold this year as far as a value increase. Looks like silver is up about 73% so far this year compared to a rally of gold's price, which is about 58% higher since the start of the year, above $4,100 an ounce. Keeping very close track of all of this now, Barry Stuppler is with us live, founder of Stuppler & Company, Mint State Gold at mintstategold.com, and former president of the American Numismatic Association. Barry Stuppler, thank you very much for coming to the line and give us your reaction to the big news here today.
Well, it's been an interesting weekend. Gold ended last Friday at about a little over $4,000. And a number of analysts said it was ridiculously overpriced at that. And then all of a sudden, President Trump announced a 100% additional tariff on China. And in the aftermarket, gold got up to about $4,020. Then as this morning, as it rolled out of the U.S., Hong Kong got up to $4,046. Then it moved into India, and it got up to 4,057. And by the time it got to London, it was 4,071. And when it came back into the United States, it was over 4,100. And we're just seeing constant buying. And right now, it's trading in Australia at 41.30. So we've seen like over $100 increase since Friday's close in gold, and that's all fueled by substantial buying and just incredible amount of interest now. We're even seeing it in the United States, and for years, not years, I'd say at least a good year, most of the buying has been from outside the United States. Now all of a sudden it's moving in. But you're right about silver. In 1979, 1980, the Hunt brothers tried to corner the market on silver. They got it up to about $50 an ounce, and then the exchanges increased the margin requirements, and it came crashing down. Now we have a lot better fundamentals and a lot more interest. The silver right now is moving up substantially. It's currently at about 52.50, which is up
like you said, about 75% for the year. Not bad return on your capital. And at the same time, we're seeing a short squeeze, which is fundamentally something that when that happens, it's telling you that the market's going to move higher. Most of your listeners probably don't understand, but silver is a byproduct of base mining of copper and zinc, base metals. 70% of the world's supply of silver comes as a byproduct from mining. Now, what we're seeing over the last couple of years, a deficit. Annually, they produce about 800 million ounces of gold, and they've been consuming over 1 billion ounces of gold. I'm sorry, silver. I'm getting off topic. They produce 800 million ounces of silver every year, and their consumption is about 1.16 billion ounces a year. So we're seeing a deficit, and that deficit has been going on for a while. And now we're seeing a short squeeze, and it started in London, and you're showing substantial amount of short squeeze. There's a futures market, and the futures market is now lower than the spot market. Normally the spot market is the base price, and then as you go out into the futures market, the price gets higher because you're buying it in December or February of next year or so on. Now all of a sudden it's reversed because there's such a physical shortage of silver. The demand is driving up the spot market. So this is fundamentally is better than what the Hunt brothers did in 79 and 80. So I'm looking for silver on this run to at least hit 55. Right now it's at 52.65 right now. But I'm seeing a substantial amount of demand, not just in the United States, but worldwide for all silver, for many of the silver most popular investment products.
Barry Stelber putting double nickels on the board here, live with us here on Mottek On Money on 790 KABC. A couple of other important things that happened regarding silver. I see the U.S. Geological Survey today proposed adding silver to its critical minerals list, which would allow the Trump administration to apply the same kind of tariffs it has levied on other metals like steel and copper. So that's something else that apparently helped move silver higher today to all-time highs. And what about the price of gold, where it goes from here? I see Bank of America today raised its price target for gold to $5,000 by 2026. Where do you see gold go from here? I know it's big news. It's shocking. Hopefully your phone didn't go on mute or something. So hopefully we'll get you back on the line here with Barry Stuppler with Stuppler & Company and Mint State Gold at mintstategold.com. Barry Stuppler, former president of the American Numismatic Association, on a day in which we've seen silver pop above $50 an ounce for the first time, since 1980, back during the days of disco. I Will Survive, Celebrate, Kool and the Gang, all those songs were playing back in those days. I'm sure Barry recalls that as well. And very, very exciting time here for the silver markets. And then the big news today that the U.S. Geological Survey has proposed adding silver to its critical minerals list, which will allow the administration to apply the same kind of tariffs it is levied on other metals, including steel and copper. Of course, it was the China tariff situation on Friday, which spooked the markets and sent pretty much everything moving lower. But today we saw an impressive rebound with the stock market rebounding impressively, pretty much erasing most of last Friday's big losses. The Dow came in for a closing gain today of 588 points at 46,068. The S&P 500 moved up 102 points to 6,655. And the NASDAQ gained nearly 500 points today at 22,695. We did see the volatility index, which had that spike of something like 30% on Friday, pull back 12% today. Gold right now, at last check, hovering about 4,127 an ounce. Silver at the moment at around $50.13. And as we heard Barry Stuppler tell us, it looks like it's up around $52 based on the current market action. So silver moving higher into the 50s here, with Barry Stuppler predicting a price of $55 for silver. And as I mentioned, Bank of America has adjusted its price target for gold. By next year, they see it going to $5,000 an ounce. Taking a look at some of the high flyers today on the market, NVIDIA moving up more than $5 today at $188 and change. Oracle popping another 15 and change today to $308.01. Apple moving up $239 to $247.66. Tesla getting a pop today, up 22.41 at 435.90. Stay tuned now for the 790 KBC News Blitz with Randy Wang at 5, and I'll be back at 6 for Winning with WINANS with top-ranked money manager Ken Winans. We'll be back on the air at 6 o'clock right here on 790 KBC.
Hey, Bruin fans, want to go behind the scenes with your favorite teams and athletes? How about getting exclusive merch and opportunities to enter sweepstakes like sideline access at the Rose Bowl? Introducing Blue and Gold Society, UCLA Athletics fan membership program created to support Bruin student athletes. Members receive benefits like exclusive gear, videos featuring insider stories, and incredible experiences courtesy of UCLA Athletics. Sign up today at blueandgoldsociety.com.